Renovating a 5-inch gauge sweet pea steam locomotive, part 16. The paintwork on this engine is quite good for the age of it, but the saddle tank paintwork is better on one side than the other. The paint on the cab is in good condition relative to the saddle tank, which needs to be repainted, but has to be removed to do this. Matching the colour is difficult, but I mixed some paint that was very close. I don't want to paint this tank using a paintbrush. I need to spray it. What is required are some cans of spray paint, the correct colour. What I'm doing here is removing the balancing pipe. Once this is out of the way, I'll be able to remove the tank. This side of the tank, and indeed the front of it, is quite badly marked. I filled in the marks on the side using cellulose stopper, and then I painted the entire side of the tank and the top. This means that I have something to rub down on. If I rub down the original coat, I will soon go through it, and then that will be a whole different job. The saddle tank is held to the cab using just 2 bolts, and here with a spanner between the tank and the cab, and a socket at the other side, I'm removing the bolts. And once again, I've found another good use for these long spanners from Blackgates Engineering. Now the cab is no longer secured to the tank, I need to turn my attentions to the other bolts at the front on the smoke box. You can see the mess on the tank at the front in this image at the top left. It's what remains of a previous attempt at repairing the paintwork. I really don't want the tank to look like this, so my paintwork should theoretically be a lot better. I live in hopes. And just before I remove the bolts holding the tank to the smoke box, you can see around the bracket the paint is cracked and just doesn't look good. The tank is held at the front using 2 bolts that go through the smoke box to 2 corresponding nuts on the inside. On this side I managed to remove both of the nuts without dropping them into the smoke box. Not so with the other side. Both of them fell into the smoke box, and there's a lot of debris in there because I swept the tubes recently, so I had to use a magnet to retrieve them. Once again, if you look at the bracket on this side, the paint around the bracket is a bit of a mess. This will all be fixed in the fullness of time. Once I'd retrieved both of the nuts from the smoke box, I closed the door. And now, without further ado, I can remove the tank. This proved to be difficult, believe it or not. I had to lift the tank into the air and then lift the front part over the chimney. That's the only way it would come off. The first thing to do is to thoroughly clean the tank. This is the underside, as you can see, and it's really well soldered. Quite a lot of solder everywhere, but it's better to have too much than too little. In this clip you can see how patchy the paint is where I've started to rub it off. And the idea of this, as I mentioned earlier, was so I had something to rub on. This side of the tank is more or less perfect and doesn't need anything doing to it. This colour is something that I don't have. Here is a can of LMS Crimson Lake paint by Phoenix Precision Paints. Crimson Lake varies. There are many different shades of it, believe it or not. I had a few attempts at colour matching, and this was quite close. This was LMS Crimson Lake from a tin, not from an aerosol, plus some Phoenix Precision Paints Buffer Beam Vermilion, once again from a tin, and finally a very small amount of white paint. This white paint was signwriter's paint, so it was thicker and whiter than normal paint. And because of this problem with the very bright white paint, I struggled to get the balance right. On the piece of cardboard on the bottom left is some Phoenix Precision Paints LMS Crimson Lake straight from the tin, and it's pretty similar to the paint coming out of the aerosol. This aerosol is a few years old and it's not actually spraying very well. What I'm going to do is take the tank to the place where I normally get my paint from in West Yorkshire, a place called Autopaint Northern, and I'll get him to match the paint and make me some aerosols up while I wait. And that should work out okay, but I'm not ready for that yet. I need to clean the main part of the engine. This has been sat under the tank for many years and it's very grimy. So a squirt of WD-40 and a cloth and a few repetitions of this gets the area very clean. I also repeated the process on the front of the cab. It's very clean now. WD-40 for me is something that is essential in my workshop at all times, for many different purposes. Here with the camera leaning against the bench, I can see down the other side. And once again, more WD-40 and more wiping with a kitchen towel, and all the parts became very clean. With the exception of the smoke box, I didn't go inside here. Well, I did, but with a vacuum cleaner, to remove all the residue that came from the tubes when I cleaned them with a bristle brush. On one side of the tank, just above the nameplate, the paint has taken on a very poor appearance. It's cracked, and here I'm scraping the bad paint away using a Stanley knife blade, being very careful not to cut myself. I'm also being very careful not to scratch the paint or mark it in any way outside the area where the nameplate is. I'm just removing the messy, cracked stuff above the nameplate. The other side's okay. Now the tank has been removed from the engine, it's much easier to rub it down. I can use more water because the problem was all the residue was going everywhere over the engine. Now it goes onto the bench. I'm using a cork block with some 400 grit wet-to-dry sandpaper. I'm basically removing the paint that I put on, especially over the damaged areas, but I'm not putting too much pressure on the original paint. I really do not want to go through this to the primer coat. This will be good practice for rubbing down the Land Rover bonnet, which is why I bought these cork pads. They're very useful. The only disadvantage is you need quite a lot of water to rinse the part off in between rubbing down, and I only have a small bowl full. In this clip, you can see that already the surface finish is much improved. You can still see some brush marks in places, and the patchiness is because the colour isn't the same. The paint I applied was close, but not close enough. And now it's top tip time. This is not a tip from me, it was from a customer. This piece of glass with the ground edges was given to me by a customer. He suggested that I put this on top of the existing paint, then use different colours of paint mixed together on top of the glass to arrive at the correct colour. Another method would be to use a piece of clear acrylic or some very thin celluloid material, but you would have to be careful in case the paint reacted with these materials. This colour on the piece of cardboard is pretty close, but not close enough. This is a flashback to when I first got the engine and was having a look at the damage to the tank. Here you can clearly see the state of it around the filler. To finish this episode, I'll continue the flashback with the engine sat on the rolling road, running on compressed air. I've done quite a bit of work to this engine since this clip was filmed. There's still a lot of rubbing down to do, but I'm not going to take all of the paint off. I'm going to take the tank to Autopaint Northern for a colour match and buy some high quality rattle cans with the right type of paint and, better still, the right colour. That's it for this episode. I don't seem to have achieved very much, but at least the tank is getting closer to being repainted. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.